What's up, guys?
Alright, so we're going to be putting a wheel spacer on today. So I got some new mud tires, and I'll put some pictures in here a little bit. I got pictures of both sides already. The other side I've already done. So basically we're going to pop the wheel off. I guess let me explain why we're doing wheel spacers. I have maybe a 1/4 inch between the tread lugs and my upper control arm. So when I turn, if the tire flexes at all, it comes in contact and starts rubbing on my upper control arm. And I don't know how big of an issue it is, but it's also coming in contact with the arm that contacts the bottom of, that bolts to the bottom of the upper control arm. And that's really close. That's again maybe a 1/4 inch. So not a lot of wiggle room there. So let's get started, guys. Alright, so first, get your truck, your car, whatever, lifted and secured with at least one jack stand, just for security. I'm resting mine on the jack, but I have the jack stand there just for security purposes. I'm not getting under the truck, but whatever, you know. So I got really lucky with my particular application. A lot of times if you're doing an inch or anything under, you end up having to cut about a 1/4 inch off of your studs here. Thank goodness I don't have to do that. Wow, that caliper, that rotor is ugly. Anyway, ADD. I got lucky on the other side, so let's see how lucky I am on this side. And again, perfect fit. I do not have to do any trimming on mine. Thank goodness, because I was really not looking forward to doing that. So the whole purpose of this is, for me, it's actually I don't want to say necessity, because I could just put my other tires back on. But really what the strength of it is you can fit bigger, wider tires on. And I didn't go too crazy. I actually stuck pretty close to the original size, which is 265/70/16. I went with a 275 or 265/75 instead of a 70, which I didn't think was going to make any difference at all, but they are actually a little wider also, and that's something you got to look at, because just because it's a 265 doesn't mean that, you know, manufacturer specs are a little bit different, because each tire will have its own circumference and width. Like this one has little lugs, little tiny mud lugs on the sidewall of the tire, so that stretches it out just a little bit. And also the profile of them, they're just a little bit wider, so they're not, I guess you could say they're not truly a 265. Now I lost track of where I just was. So yeah, make sure you really check, you know, unless you don't mind putting wheel spacers on yours, like I really don't mind putting them on mine at the moment. So make sure you get the overall dimensions of the tire, so you don't run into any issues like this. Thank goodness me and my girlfriend work together. So I can just ride into work with her if I'm having an issue with the truck here. So. I personally like to, at the end, once you've gotten all of your lugs tightened, go back around in a circular pattern, because you've already tightened it in your crisscross pattern. So going back in a circular pattern just to check to make sure everything's tightened is not going to hurt anything. As far as I know, I am not a professional, but this is how I've done it my entire life, so I've not had any major catastrophes. Yeah, I know I had a little hesitation and said major there. I did actually have one major catastrophe, but it wasn't due to that. Somebody, I bought a vehicle from a long time ago. Honda Civic, I know. You can bash me all you want, I love the things. Honda Civic, 92 Honda Civic with a swap, all that cool stuff. But this guy, I guess, thought it would be alright to put Toyota MR2 wheels on the Civic because the bolt pattern lines up. The only problem was the hub size was incorrect. The hub size on the wheel was actually smaller in diameter than the hub on the Civic. So he puts them on and they're just sitting, you know, your wheel is supposed to kind of go over the hub of your vehicle, kind of like a cup or something like that. So instead of doing that, it was smaller than the vehicle hub. So it's just, you know, big old gap like this big in between the rim and the rotor. So needless to say, I'm going 50 miles an hour down the highway, and all four studs snapped at the same time. And I looked over at my because my front passenger end just dropped. I didn't even know what happened yet, so I looked over that way and I see my tire next to my passenger window just spinning, hovering in the air beside my window, spinning as I'm dropping to the ground. That freaked me out a little bit. So again, make sure your hub sizes and bolt patterns both match the vehicle. If the hub bore is bigger on the wheel than it is on your vehicle, that's okay. It's not, I believe the term is hub-centric, but I ran Jeep Grand Cherokee wheels on one of my Civics for the entire life of the vehicle, basically. I bought the car off the lot with 12 miles, and I put those rims on maybe a year after that. So I rode with those on for a good 5 years or so. Never had any issues because technically the Acorn lug nuts are tapered at the end, so it centers it anyway. So as long as you don't just jam your lug nuts on and you kind of try to center it yourself, give it a little help centering, it's fine. Would I tell somebody, yeah, do it at home? No, because people don't like to take their time and do things the right way. They just want to slap everything together and cross their fingers and hope for the best. So no, I wouldn't advise it to everybody, but if you know what you're doing, I'm not saying that I do, but if you know what you're doing, Go for it, man. All right. So spacers on. Checked all of my lugs. Tightened all the lugs in a crisscross pattern, then went back in circular motion and checked all of them, make sure that they've been tightened. Everything's on there solid. So now, I got lucky with this, and I didn't have to trim my lug studs. If you do end up having to do that, there are several YouTube videos. I actually looked them up myself just to be sure I knew exactly what was going on, how much I'd have to take off, any tips and tricks to not botch the job. I got lucky. I did not have to do that. Mine just bolted right up, no problem. And if you're planning on doing this, I hope yours goes the same way. Easy peasy, no problem. So I think what we're going to do now is go take a look on the other side while it's still jacked up at clearances. I guess I'll take you guys with me. Alright, so I don't think I'm going to have any clearance issues here. And, as you can see here, I've got a little more room there. Before I couldn't even put my finger between here. So this is going to give me plenty of room when I turn and all that. If it doesn't, I will make sure to give you guys an update, and I will buy the 1.25 or 1.5 spacers, depending on, I'm not really quite sure which way I would go with that yet. Depends on if, how much more clearance I need, but it doesn't look like I'll need any more clearance. But yeah, it definitely makes them stick out a little more. It's actually kind of cool looking. So I might, now that I'm looking at it, I might, you see the difference there? So I might get some 1-inch spacers for the rear too. If I do, I'll make sure I record it and give you guys an update. But for now, I think that's it. We pretty much covered the how and the why and all that stuff. And I'll have to edit my CV axle rebuild. I just did a CV axle rebuild. Actually, no, I didn't. That's a lie. It wasn't a rebuild. It was, I just did a boot. I rebuilt the boot because this one busted. So I took the other factory, CV axle, and took it apart. You know what? Y'all are going to see that. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and all that fun stuff. To everybody that has already subscribed, I seriously really appreciate you following the channel. Have a good one.